my younger years, I might have considered abseiling from the crane down to the ship, but those days are long past. Amazing how much luggage there is for so few passengers, and I'd guess that 3/4 of it belongs to the women. Fine car, but nothing compared to the young lady who owns it. I'll take an inconspicuous look up close.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting anyone to be crawling around on the ground in front of my door.
Don't worry about it, miss. No harm done.
That's good to hear, Mr.
Zellner. Anton Jakob Zellner. May I ask your name?
Patricia Mayers.
Are you American?
I am. Could you help me, please?
Certainly. Are you on your way to Egypt?
Yes.
Are you on holiday?
My father works for a railroad company there.
And is rebuilding the country after the war. Wonderful.
Yes. Wonderful. One more.
You're lucky to have a father who takes you to so many interesting places.
Oh, yes. Lucky me.
Aren't you interested in Egypt? The pyramids, the history.
I would have been more interested in a father who doesn't travel 300 days a year.
I'm sure your father regrets that he can't always be with you.
No doubt. And I'm sure he always wanted the best for me. But that doesn't stop him from thinking only about himself far too often. Bring my luggage on board, please.
Excuse me?
It was a pleasure meeting you, Constable Zellner.
Impertinent. The sea is quiet today. Ideal conditions for a cruise. Constable Oliver seems to be a little simplistic. But I don't think he's a bad policeman. The way he reacted in the tunnel and got the train moving. Hats off. Hello, Constable Olivier.
It's Oliver.
I just wanted to say that you did a good job in the tunnel.
Thanks.
How did you know how to get the train moving?
I come from a family of miners, and my uncle is an engine driver down the mine.
I see. And you looked over his shoulder?
Yeah, best way to learn.
Did Legrand tell you about his theory? That it could be the real Raven?
Of course he did. We're partners.
But the modus operandi doesn't fit at all. The Raven wasn't a bomber.
We have the letter. And the feather. That's his symbol.
Anyone can put a feather in an envelope.
You would know.
What's that supposed to mean?
It was you.
What was me?
You put the envelope on the safe.
To blow myself up?
You threw the bomb away, and now you're the famous hero, right? And the Raven must have paid you pretty well.
That is ridiculous.
Is it? Only you and I and Legrand were in the freight car. One of us must have put the envelope on the safe. Legrand didn't. And I didn't think about it.
Is the doctor afraid to board the ship? Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
Ah, the hero of the hour.
The hero of the hour, but out of work soon.
Oh, you won't be a policeman anymore?
Yes, but on my old beat, which is almost as good as being out of work.
I understand.
Is your new job bothering you?
On the contrary, I wasn't sure whether I made the right decision until now. I'm from the Black Forest, you know. There are only mountains there. No ships. But now... the salty breeze, the atmosphere. I think I want to stay at sea forever.
The sea is one thing, the passengers are another.
It will be okay.
What do you know about the Baroness?
Nothing really.
Did you talk to her in the tunnel?
No. Her butler was looking after her, and I was busy with Miss Miller. As you can imagine, it was a shock for her to see her son rolling away on a burning train.
That's understandable.
So, we were all glad when we heard about your brave deed.
Have you already met the captain?
Mario Di Conti. Heard of him?
Should I have?
He is something of a star in Italy. A war hero. In the First World War, when he was a young man, he sank more enemy ships than anyone else. In the Second World War, well, he had some personal problems.
You mean like the ones you buy in bottles and pillboxes?
Yeah, you could say that. Anyway, sending him into combat was out of the question. They gave him a supply ship instead, and he became a hero again. His ship, part of a convoy from Palermo to North Africa, was the only one that made it, with an extra 100 seamen who he rescued from the other ships.
Impressive.
To say his health is rather shaky these days would be an understatement. I think most of my time on board will be spent dealing with his numerous ailments.
Well, there's nothing left for me to do but to wish you a good trip.
Oh, you are not coming with us?
Unfortunately, no. I'm to go back to Zurich.
What a pity.
Take care, Dr. Gebhardt.
Oh, I just remembered. We found these in the tunnel. Are they yours?
I'm afraid so.
Strophantine. Do you have heart problems? Maybe it's for the best that you're not coming along. Too much excitement could be bad for your health.
You mean if I don't do anything, I'll probably have a few more years to live?
That's right. Keep your chin up.
James? James! Where on earth are you?
Hello, Baroness.
Ah, Inspector.
Constable.
Poppycock. You won't be a constable much longer. When they find out how you rescued that little boy, they'll have to promote you to Inspector.
Very kind of you to say so, Baroness. I hope you survived the adventure in the tunnel unharmed.
Scandalous. You book a first-class cabin, and then you're walking on the rails. Huh. They wanted to bundle me off in a bus. without my luggage.
The circumstances, madam.
I insisted on a limousine and didn't leave until all my luggage was recovered.
Did you know that the real Eye of the Sphinx wasn't even on the train?
I had no idea. Inspector Legrand seems to prefer to keep me in the dark, although I'm the one paying for all of this.
The inspector is ensuring the safety of the Eye.
Well, obviously. All the same, it was you who did the real work on the train.
I hope that the remainder of your trip to Cairo will be less stressful.
You aren't coming with us.
I'm afraid Inspector Legrand doesn't want my company.
Now, where's my damned butler? James, there you are. Is the inspector to carry my luggage onto the ship all by himself?
Well, actually... Baroness?
Baroness, can you hear me? She fainted.
No. No.
Baroness?
Again, harder.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Help me up.
Perhaps we should...
Now.
I'll get Dr. Gebhardt.
No, Doctor. Just a little moment of weakness. Your arm, James. Take me to the ship.
But of course, madam.
That was no moment of weakness. She saw something that shocked her. Or someone. Very interesting. Especially since she doesn't want to admit it. Who or what did she see? Neither of them seems to have noticed what happened down here. You'll have a tough time with her. How does one get aboard without a ticket? Not brilliant, but it's a possibility. I'll be marching up this gangway today, no matter what. Someone has to stop that damn bomber before he endangers more people.
Oh, who do we have here? Signore...
This is Constable Anton Zellner.
Signore Zellner, I heard about your feats in the mountains. Welcome aboard the MS Lydia.
Thank you, Captain.
I didn't know you'd be taking part in the journey, but I'm glad to have you with us. I'll have a nice cabin prepared for you immediately.
The constable will not be joining us. He has other duties.
Oh, that's too bad. I would have loved to hear about his adventures from the man himself.
I'd like to accept your offer, but unfortunately, higher powers prevent it.
I am sorry to hear that. We are by no means full, and have plenty of room for one more passenger.
The constable just wants to have a quick look around and then leave before we set sail. When will that be?
In about 15 minutes.
There you have it, Constable.
May I ask how to get to the cargo hold?
Oh, signori, there are much nicer places on board.
But I'm interested in the cargo hold.
Why is that?
One of the trunks seems suspicious to me. Someone could be hidden in it.
You? You want to imply that the most brilliant and probably richest thief in all of Europe is stowing away in a trunk? That's not his style.
That's what makes it more likely that it's not him, but a copycat who's behind all this. And a copycat's style might include doing whatever it takes, like hiding in a trunk if they've lost the ticket.
Oh, come now.
Actually, it would be possible for a registered passenger to board the ship without a ticket.
What do you mean?
You can't buy a ticket for the Lydia at the counter. You book the trip in advance. We know the names of all the passengers. As long as a passenger is on the guest list, we let them board the ship. Doesn't matter if they have a ticket or not.
And did any of the passengers board without a ticket?
I couldn't say. We ask for a name and check it on the list. The tickets are no more than souvenirs for the passengers.
So much for your trunk theory.
Regardless of what you say, I would still like to examine the cargo hold.
All right, then, if you like. But we'll meet here again in 10 minutes. Captain De Conti, before we depart, I'd like to send 2 telegrams.
Certainly, Inspector. The cargo hold is over there. You can enter through a door on the forecastle. The horn will sound twice, 5 minutes before we set off. That's the signal for all the dock workers to leave the ship.
Understood, Captain.
Follow me to the bridge. You can send your telegrams from there.
My time is running out. If I don't find anything in the cargo hold, my cruise will be over before it even begins. Oh, no. Oh, what's this? Aha. That's the young woman's cabriolet. Apparently they absolutely had to take it to Egypt, at Daddy's expense, of course. Hello? Come on out. The game's up. I'm opening the trunk. Hello? I'm sure someone was in the trunk, but where are they now? Shards are... Phew. I startled too easily. Fulfill! Ouch! Damned. Ah! It would be best if no one found out about this. There's some blood and hair stuck to the pipe. Hair I really can't afford to lose. I'll hold it on the blood-spattered end. After all, we already know who the victim is. I can make out a corridor, but no details. The glass is too dirty, and there's no light in there. It's no use. The door seems to be locked from the other side. Rear pressure bulkheads usually only open from one side. So if a room were flooded, a drowning sailor wouldn't be able to open the bulkhead and endanger the whole ship. Unfortunately, I'm on the side without the locking mechanism. Whoever locked the door is stronger than me. Whoever locked the door is stronger than me. I didn't lock the door when I came in. It's already dark outside. How long have I been unconscious? I don't see anyone. Should I call for help? But what if whoever knocked me out is still around? Or even the gunman? Whoever locked the door is stronger than me. I didn't lock the door when I came in. I should be careful. The gunman may still be nearby.
What are you up to, Zellner?
I was jumped in the cargo hold.
Of course you were.
Here, look. Careful how you hold it. There could be fingerprints on the end.
Surely you don't expect me to believe you.
I was inspecting the trunk. I found it in the cargo hold, and it was clear that someone had hidden inside it to board the ship.
Some people are willing to go to great lengths to be a part of this journey.
Indeed. Whoever it was, they struck me on the head from behind with the pipe while I was looking for clues. Oh, and they shot at me as well.
Ridiculous. You wanted to come along. Orders be damned, and so you found a way to stay here. I should throw you overboard.
I would have dreamed up something less painful.
True. That doesn't look good.
See? And there's a bullet wedged in a wooden crate down there. I don't have a gun.
The doctor should have a look at it. Come with me.
Inspector Legrand and Constable Zellner. So you have decided to join us on our journey after all?
So it would seem. We are searching for Dr. Gebhardt.
I'm just fine, Captain Conte.
The Conti.
I'm in control. I can manage. Tell James he absolutely must wake me at 9:45.
Certainly, madam.
Absolutely.
I shall see that he does.
And now I shall return to my chambers. You'll be in the bar tonight at 10, Inspector.
If that's what you wish.
It will be spectacular. I promise.
The fresh sea air, and perhaps a glass of champagne to many. But I'm glad that you decided to join us on our journey to Cairo.
Not quite voluntarily.
So he says.
I was jumped from behind.
But no, that is...
Dr. Gebhardt should have a look at him, Captain De Conti.
Of course. Please, have a seat in the saloon, Constable Zellner. I'll summon the doctor. Ah, Doctor, there you are. Our brave Constable Zellner was attacked.
Struck on the head.
Oh. Sit down, please.
Now, please, tell me exactly what happened.
I think you've got a stowaway on board. I was jumped.
Intolerable. I'll have the crew search every nook and cranny of the ship. And of course, Mr. Zellner, you are cordially invited to travel as our special guest.
Good to know that at least one man doesn't want to throw me overboard.
Is it bad?
Yes, it hurts a lot.
I spoke with Dr. Gebhardt.
He suffered a violent blow to the back of the head. I cannot really say how bad it is.
But I can. It really hurts. Why didn't anyone come looking for me? Didn't anyone notice that I didn't come back from the cargo hold?
We did search for you, but we couldn't find you.
Who was supposed to search the cargo hold?
Constable Oliver. I'll have a talk with him about that later.
I should hope so.
How many fingers do you see?
3 fingers.
Okay.
Where are we? And what time is it? I must have been out for ages.
It's just after 8 p.m.
You just missed dinner. But we'll all meet here in the saloon at 10 o'clock to have a drink together. Greeting the passengers personally is a tradition I will not break, even on this unusual journey.
You're all right now, Constable. The bleeding has stopped, and the wound looks good. You may have a mild concussion. You just need a good night's sleep. And tomorrow, your only worries will be a headache and an impressive bump.
Thanks.
That's a good enough reason to celebrate. Enough about crooks and thieves. From now on, you can start to enjoy your free cruise.
Inspector!
What?
A dark shadow. Upper deck, just now.
Go, let's have a look.
I'll join you.
Me too.
No, you stay here.
Do you want to make this an argument?
Robert, go to the Baroness and don't let her out of your sight. Zellner, you're coming to the port side. Doctor, you go to starboard. I'll start at the forecastle and work my way back to the two of you. Understood?
But
Baroness von Trebitz! Hello? Baroness von Trebitz? Open the door!
Dr. Gebhard insisted on coming along, but now he doesn't seem to be sure if that was a good idea. Are you okay, Doctor?
oh, of course. Why wouldn't I be? It's just that... Well, I would prefer to come with you.
You heard the inspector. All right, Doc. I'm off.
Oh no, I'm not going on a manhunt all by myself. Are you okay? Maybe you had better take a rest, in case the blow was more severe.
I'm okay.
Zellner, up here!
Come on. I think it came from up there.
Sure, you just wanted to get a breath of fresh air. Zellner, look who we have here.
Well, if that's not our shadow.
And our stowaway.
Spent any time hiding in a trunk recently?
Me do nothing.
He claims to be part of the crew. Just wanted to get some fresh air.
Of course.
The Baroness won't open the door, sir.
Understood. Take him to the detention cell, Robert. You were right. There was a stowaway.
Yes, but he can't be the Raven. He's too young.
Right, but that doesn't mean that the Raven isn't lurking here as well.
What was that?
A shot!
It came from one of the cabins.
Oh no! Baroness von Trebitz? Baroness! Open the door!
Step aside, please.
We have a murder on our hands, gentlemen. Hurry, Zellner. The murderer still has to be nearby. There's practically no one on deck. Anyone who's outside is a suspect. This time, we'll get him. Zellner, are you okay?
Yes. Come on. We have to.
Zellner? Zellner! Murder!
Ah, you awake? Sleep well, did you?
I like to sleep late when I take a cruise.
While everyone else is hard at work.
Have you arrested anyone yet?
You mean besides the Arab?
He could hardly have committed the murder. You must have been with him when it happened.
We heard the shot on the forecastle. I locked our friend in the detention cell in the cargo hold, and then went up to assist Legrand. You were already sleeping the sleep of the just.
Any other suspects?
No. Seconds after the alarm went off, the decks were swarming with frightened passengers.
Yes. A clever way to stay incognito during the commotion.
But we still have our primary suspect, the Raven.
You really think he's returned?
Well, I think that no one knows as much about the Raven as Legrand.
But still, it all seems so incredible. I didn't pass out last night because of the blow to my head, did I?
Seems unlikely. Inspector Legrand thinks you were drugged.
But how? The champagne.
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
Captain De Conti.
Interesting.
It should be possible to find traces of the tranquilizer in the glass.
That is exactly what Legrand is trying to do.
Without a laboratory?
Oh, he's got a lab. His cabin is packed with all the latest forensic stuff. It's quite impressive what the inspector can do.
A competent man, no doubt. And surprisingly well prepared.
And diligent. He's been at it all night with his brushes and tinctures and glasses and everything. Working like a man possessed. I wouldn't want to be the Raven now.
What's the state of play? How was the Baroness killed?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We'll know more once the doc finishes examining the body in the medical centre.
And no one saw anything suspicious?
No one saw a shadowy Raven leaving the Baroness's cabin, if that's what you mean. A lot of people heard the gunshot. Inspector Legrand wants to question the passengers again this morning once they've all calmed down, and he's had a chance to examine the evidence.
I suppose that you and Legrand inspected the crime scene and the surroundings.
Of course, and we already hit the jackpot. The murder weapon.
Really? Where did you find it?
On the gangway. The gangway for boarding the ship folds up and hooks onto the hull when it's not being used. The murderer probably wanted to throw the gun into the sea. He casually dropped it overboard.
But it landed on the gangway.
Bad luck.
But Legrand and I were on the side deck right after the shot. There was no one there.
Maybe the murderer threw the gun away later. We recovered it in the early hours.
I think I'll look for Inspector Legrand now.
Do what you think's best.
You won't get rid of me. I'm here to stay, Constable Oliver.
Be that as it may. Inspector Legrand ordered me to guard the cargo hold with our special guest. That's fine by me. Inspector Legrand may be able to get by without sleep for days on end, but not me. It's not easy playing with the big boys, Constable Zellner.
No, it certainly isn't. An antique wooden globe. If Galileo hadn't asserted himself back then, this would be a flat disk now. The cabin was sealed. I'm pretty sure the seal doesn't have any legal relevance here on the open sea, but I'm still dependent on Legrand letting me join his team. I better not blow it by breaking his seal without permission. I better ask Legrand for permission first. My investigations would be much more difficult if he were upset with me because of such things. How wonderful. Sunshine and a blue sky above the Mediterranean Sea. It would be a perfect cruise day, if not for the murder. I'd really like to lie in the sun and take a nap, but I don't have time for that at the moment. I'd really like to lie in the sun and take a nap, but I don't have time for that at the moment. No, Jakob, business before pleasure. Did Edison have any idea what would become of his invention? These things made quite a racket last night. I couldn't hear myself think. Big, soft towels. I could reserve a deck chair with it. No, better not. The ship must have been rebuilt at some point. I'm sure it didn't originally have such a modern glass roof. Curious. One can easily toss a gun into the sea from almost anywhere on the ship without being noticed. And yet, the murderer chose the one spot where it's not actually possible. I suppose the life jackets are stowed there, close to the railing, close at hand in case of emergency. We were here yesterday when we heard the shot, and it was also here where Legrand caught our stowaway. The grate must be part of the ship's ventilation system. Nothing out of the ordinary. A boat like this would also make a good hideout for a stowaway. Were the tarpaulins arranged like that on purpose so that no one could put them back in order once they get in? You can tell at a glance that everything is ship-shape with this boat. The grate shouldn't be so easy to open. Did the stowaway open it and we caught him in the act? No. The pipe is too narrow. He wouldn't fit in there. I guess the cover has been defective for a while. I could inform the captain that the grid has to be repaired, but if I start reporting all the problems on the ship, I'd have to shelve my murder investigation. This isn't a panoramic deck for visitors. There are pipes, steel cables, chains up here. You can smell the smoke from the funnel. I have no idea how the ship works, and I really don't care, as long as it stays afloat. Why is there an axe hanging here? I suppose it's for chopping through ropes in the event that the lifeboats can't be lowered. Or they use it to enforce who's allowed on the boat and who's not. The ship's bridge. 2 men. One of them navigating. I get the impression that the officers keep things running. It seems like the captain concentrates on the passengers and the bar. I better let the men do their work. If one of them had detected something yesterday, he'd already have informed Legrand or the captain. There's dirt piled up in the corner. Down below where the passengers are, the ship is pretty clean. But the crew doesn't seem to care as much up here. I hope I don't find myself needing a life jacket. The gangway is hard to miss. Why did the murderer drop the gun on the gangway? They must have noticed their mistake, even if their back was to the sea. So, why didn't they take the gun and throw it a few meters farther into the sea? It may not seem like it, but Constable Oliver is actually a very effective watchman.
What's going on?
The Raven just flew by.
What?
Or at least, he might as well have.
I wasn't asleep.
I understand. It was just a ruse. What do you think? What happened here last night?
The Raven broke into the Baroness's cabin, she surprised him, and he shot her.
What was he looking for in her cabin?
She was a rich woman.
Why did he lock the door?
Why not?
From inside? An impressive trick.
I'm not saying I know how he did it. I'm just saying that it was him.
Why didn't he leave a raven feather?
Are you serious? We'd have suspected him straight away.
But fortunately, we still did. Any conclusions about our young stowaway?
Yeah, he's a bit suspicious. Foreign and whatnot.
I see. Did he act suspiciously in any way?
No. The shot surprised him as much as it did me. Looked in on him earlier. Still seems to be asleep.
Covered with a blanket from head to toe?
Ah, he's still in there. I poked him.
May I go downstairs and have a couple of words with our guest?
No, you may not.
Come again?
Inspector Legrand wants to conduct all the interrogations himself.
I'm sure he'll understand if I form my own conclusions.
He ordered me to guard the door, and that's just what I'm gonna do.
How about a bit of individual initiative?
How about letting a man do his job? Or do you think you'd be better at it?
Let's assume that the old Raven really has returned and that he really is responsible for all this. Who is he? Or she?
Oh, could be anyone. No one's ever seen the Raven.
He could also be paying someone else to do his dirty work.
Well, of course. It's a fact that he used to work with partners. They even arrested some of his accomplices.
But no one could ever identify the Raven himself. Some claims that they didn't even know that they were working for him. Fascinating. He could have hired someone with financial difficulties to set off the alarm at a certain time without that person knowing why they were doing it.
The man Legrand shot back then, he was a famous safecracker. He could just as well have been a henchman.
Or the real Raven. There's probably no better cover for a big thief than acting like a small one. I don't want to keep you from your duties any longer.
Good idea.
Constable Oliver brought something to drink. You can tell it's not the first time he's had to guard something. The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens to have a secret alcohol problem. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens to have a secret alcohol problem. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Maybe the inventor realized that it's difficult to play ball games on a boat and came up with an alternative. Salty sea air in my old lungs, wind in my thinning hair. If I hadn't become a policeman, I could have been a sailor. The stowaway surely didn't sleep well last night in the cargo hold, although his cell is probably more comfortable than my cabin, and more spacious. I have to talk to the young fellow right away. Even though he was already under arrest at the time of the shot, he may have noticed something before. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend. I have to talk to the even though he was already under arrest. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of... He won't let me talk to our young friend. He won't let me talk to our young friend. He respects Legrand far too much to disobey his orders. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. An evacuation plan? And some tips from the doctor for avoiding seasickness, sunburn, and the like. And here, a schedule of activities. A drink with the captain, a shuffleboard competition on the forecastle. That's about it. A real barrel of fun.
Come in.
Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
And there's the next one.
Excuse me?
You want something else from me, don't you?
I'm afraid I do.
What a first day at work. Well,
What's the result of your examination of the victim?
she's dead.
I didn't make you work all night long, Dr. Gebhardt.
She was shot. Point-blank shot. Probably with a pistol. It seems like she was lying in bed. The shot struck her heart. She died immediately.
One shot?
More were unnecessary. And we only heard one shot, no?
And there's just one entrance wound.
Just one.
I am told that I was drugged.
That's how it seems.
What can you tell me about it?
Me? Why should that be my business?
Haven't you analyzed the glass?
No, I haven't. The inspector said he's the better chemist. I let him do it. That way I could at least concentrate on the body.
Do you think the Baroness might have been drugged? She was very tired and unsteady when Legrand and I saw her.
Yeah, I heard about that. I must have just missed her in the saloon. And without having seen her myself, it is hard to make a diagnosis.
Of course. Can you say something about her general health?
She was quite overweight, and the butler said that she suffered from diabetes. Despite that, she hadn't visited a doctor for several years.
Doesn't sound good.
Happens more frequently than you might suppose. Some people are scared of doctors and pay with an early death. It is possible that the Baroness wouldn't have lived much longer anyway.
Do you know whose glass I drank from?
What do you mean?
Captain de Conti handed me a glass of champagne. But where did he get it?
I don't know. Did you ask him?
I'm just asking because you were also in the saloon when the champagne was served.
Yes, but I only entered the saloon a few seconds before you did. I didn't manage to get a drink myself.
Which, in retrospect, is lucky.
Ah, you're right about that.
Have you already removed the bullet?
Did Legrand send you? What is that Frenchman's problem? I already told you. I will get in touch as soon as I have it. That is also what I told the constable, who he kept sending all night long, once I finally got rid of Legrand himself.
Did he look over your shoulder?
He probably wanted to take the scalpel from my hand and hack away himself. But this is my surgery, and I will not let amateurs interfere with my work.
That's understandable. How much longer will it take?
I have just finished. Send my regards to His Majesty.
Thanks. I think that's it for now.
No. That is it for now, then, and later. I'm going to lie down for a few hours. Can you tell that to your boss?
But... could I at least have the key?
Absolutely not.
But if we have to examine the victim again...
Then the esteemed inspector knows where to find me. In my cabin. In bed. Good night, Constable Zellner.
Neither Dr. Gebhardt nor Constable Oliver can keep up with Legrand's pace. But in contrast to good old Robert, the doctor doesn't let himself get roped in for the long haul. I wonder what would happen if Legrand dragged him out of bed for another investigation. We're lucky that the Lydia has a well-stocked medical center at its disposal. I suppose it was added during the war. A ship of this size wouldn't normally have a full medical center. Dr. Gebhardt closed the curtains from inside, which was the right thing to do. Who'd want to be greeted by a corpse on the way to breakfast? An alarm like this one was set off yesterday. This one hasn't been set off. The security seal is intact. I'm not paying for this trip, and that's a fair price for my cabin. It's rather... plain, shall we say. No, I've slept enough. That is Legrand's cabin.
Come in. Ah, Zellner, are you ready?
Good morning, Inspector Legrand. My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate.
Hmm?
That's why you have a headache. I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. Can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
I believe it was Captain de Conti.
If believing were enough for us, we'd have become priests, Constable. Be a policeman and find out for sure.
Understood. What have you found out so far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the crime scene.
And if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage that anyway?
Especially since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Something doesn't make sense here.
No, it doesn't, and it's driving me crazy.
Did you find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right onto the gangway.
Indeed. And do you find that probable?
Not a bit.
Neither do I.
What kind of a gun is it?
A pistol, a Luger 08.
Antique.
Manufactured 1,000,000 times during and after the First World War. Austrian model. The owner is David Kreutzer, the violinist. We found him tonight totally drunk on the bow of the ship. He confirmed that it's his gun, but he claims that it was stolen from him.
Fingerprints?
Nothing. But it's worth mentioning that the clip was missing 2 bullets.
And it's definitely the murder weapon.
The ballistic tests are incomplete. Actually, I've been waiting far too long for the bullet recovered from the corpse. Pay the good doctor a visit, Zellner, and see that he does his job.
About the bullet, here it is.
Excellent. Give it to me. As I suspected, a 7.65 Parabellum Luger.
Don't you want to examine it in more detail?
When I have time. For now, though, we can assume that we had the murder weapon. There can't be too many antique Luger 08 pistols on board.
May I take a look at the Baroness's cabin?
We already searched it thoroughly.
Sure. But what about now, by daylight?
Yes, fine, it can't hurt. Here, take this with you.
Thanks. I'll let you know if I find anything important.
But only then, please. I'm very busy.
Of course. Do you believe the violinist?
He'll be the first person I question. He claims he can't remember anything from the last few hours. Says he drank a bottle of schnapps.
He was on the train and he doesn't have an alibi. His drunkenness could be a smokescreen.
He fits the profile. He travels a lot, has access to high society. Could be interesting.
You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye, the one the Baroness was carrying. At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seems safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key.
She returns from the saloon earlier than expected.
Surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He imprisons her until the coast is clear, and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
Are you sure that there's no bomb inside this time?
Professor Lucien locked it in front of an audience, and it will be opened for the first time in Cairo.
Let's hope so.
It would take hours to crack it, and you'd need heavy machinery.
Or the keys.
Or the 3 keys, that's right.
Do you really think that the Raven is behind all this?
He wrote the letter that was on the safe in the train. Without the letter, we wouldn't have opened the safe and the bomb wouldn't have exploded.
But it doesn't seem like him, does it? The Raven was famous in part because he never hurt anyone, much less killed anyone, during a burglary.
It's his handwriting, and he called me Nico. No one else does that. I chased that man across Europe for years. It is him. It has to be him.
But the evidence...
Enough.
I'll be on my way. I want to find out who gave me the drugged champagne.
Good idea.
Inspector Legrand, are you okay? Maybe you should take a break.
I can sleep once I've caught the Raven. Goodbye, Constable.
Be seeing you. Legrand is risking not just his career, but his health as well on his hunt for the Raven. He's working like a demon. Maybe that's why he caught the raven and no one else. These little sachets contain the evidence we've collected. At least the evidence that fits in little sachets. This is the first murder scene I've ever set foot in. There should be a ventilation shaft behind the hatch. Usually a good way to break in and out undetected. But we're on a ship. The ventilation shafts are very small here. I can't say why, and it seems impossible, but something tells me that the murderer entered and left the cabin through the door. The only question is how. The most unportable portmanteau I've ever seen. A portable bar is more like it. Must be hard work transporting this big, heavy thing halfway around the globe. And the Baroness was lucky that the other freight cars were only lightly damaged by the explosion. An impressive piece. But I don't think it'll get me anywhere with the murder investigations. Another alarm. It was tripped at some point. The seal is broken. But there's no way of telling whether it happened yesterday or 5 years ago. The notepad has the ship's emblem on it. I suppose all the first-class cabins have them. It says, Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m. There is a murderer on board and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer, and that means that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message, otherwise he'd have said something. The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have a more generous figure. Sunflowers. By Van Gogh, I presume. He liked to paint that sort of thing. Can't be an original. They cost thousands of francs. There's still blood on the mattress. The sheet and the blanket have already been removed. To analyze them, I suppose. A tape recorder. Must go with the built-in speakers. Probably part of the cabin's furnishings. The tape recorder is older than the hills, but it was once very expensive. Top of the range. And it doesn't come cheap. Strange. There's only one reel. And it's the wrong one. No sign of the original reel. A reel made by Zeibling. I know the brand. Zeibling's tapes can be overwritten many times without losing quality. They're used in offices so that executives can record messages for the secretaries on the same tape over and over again. But they're not good for much else. They're robust, but they don't offer much in terms of sound quality. Nothing. The blood spot is the only sign that someone committed a crime in here. Somehow... That's odd. The blood is so... red. Shouldn't it gradually darken in the air? Turn brown? The unusual color of the blood could be something that Legrand and Dr. Gebhardt missed last night. All cats are gray in the dark, as the saying goes. I should take a sample. The unusual color of the blood could be all cats are gray in the dark, as the saying goes. I should take a sample. A big, ugly, and impractical vase. If it had a wider opening, one could at least use it as an umbrella stand. Can't see anything. Wow, heavier than it looks. Aha! Why were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? There may be something else in the vase, but the neck is too narrow to reach in with my hand. There may be something else in the vase, but the neck is too narrow to reach in with my hand. Nothing special, although it seems like one of the feathers was scorched at the top, literally burnt. I'd better take it with me. Something's under there. More feathers. And they're singed as well. I'll put them with the others. The portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have seen them. The portholes are locked. One cannot open or close them from outside. It's the same problem as with the door. If someone left the cabin through the porthole, how did they lock it? And the Baroness wasn't shot from outside. The doctor said she was shot at close range. Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags. Or rather, didn't have time to tell her butler to unpack them for her. Sifting through all that would take ages. But here, the Baroness's handbag. Ha-ha. A small leather-bound book. 1964 is engraved on it. This must be the Baroness's diary. Let's see. Yes, it's a diary, all right. Difficult to read. No entry from yesterday. A brief, sober description of what she's done recently. Met Morris, arranged benefit concert for renovation of Louvre Southeastern Wing, Times photo shoot for Eye of Sphinx, BM, poor excuse for photographer, too fidgety, and so on. This entry looks strange. The handwriting is shaky, difficult to read. Dreamt of Bobby. Yesterday would have been his birthday. Next week, Jay's. The Baroness was a very busy woman, and it looks like she had to cope with the loss. She writes about Bobby and Jay. Neither seem to be alive anymore. Almost every family lost loved ones in the war. Maybe hers as well. I'll leave it there. I don't have time to read all of it. Cosmetics, a handkerchief, a spectacles case. Nothing special. I guess our stowaway knocked me out. Whatever his story is, he's not a thief. Nothing's missing from my wallet. The door frame was damaged when Dr. Gebhardt kicked it in. The real question is, why was the door locked in the first place? The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried. The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried. Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
You look the worse for wear. It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a murder?
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If. But what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
I understand your problem. Under these circumstances, I'm sure you'd answer some questions that could help clear your name, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Did you notice anything suspicious last night?
No, sir. After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucien and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector Legrand there. You were unconscious, and the inspector asked us to take care of you.
The Baroness's cabin seems to have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left her cabin.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
The Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she drank. It was no secret.
I understand. How serious was her habit?
Serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
Would you describe the Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could. She was always very angry when she couldn't find something.
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
The gunshot just before the alarm went off. Did you hear it from the forecastle?
No, just the alarm, sir.
How long had you worked for the Baroness?
6 months, sir.
Only 6 months. I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable. Her former butler wasn't able to fulfill his duties any longer. Gout, sir.
I understand.
I took on his duties and hoped for a secure position for the next 20 years.
You said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely, sir. One of the crew informed me that the Baroness wanted to be roused at 10:15.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose that she wanted to toast the success of the journey with the captain and the other passengers.
She hadn't intended to take a nap then?
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to social engagements and a glass or two of champagne.
May I ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir.
Doesn't it hinder your work?
Yes, sir, obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
I think that's all for now.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried.
Come in. Constable?
About the tranquilizer.
Do you know how you wound up with the glass?
Not yet.
Then you should stop wasting my time and get back to work.
I found feathers in the Baroness's cabin.
Really?
Yes, they were in a vase next to the door.
I hope this is leading up to some information that justifies this interruption.
Some of the feathers are singed.
Show me. Well, you may have something here.
I think that someone fired a shot through a pillow or something like that, and the muzzle flash scorched the down.
Yes, possible. Try to find the pillow and we'll take it from there.
I took a closer look at the blood spot from the Baroness's bed.
Yes, what's wrong with it?
It looks odd.
Odd?
I think it should be darker.
I understand. The iron in blood causes it to darken the longer it's exposed to the air.
Right. And
We don't have time to waste. Dr. Gebhardt examined the body thoroughly. He would have noticed if anything was wrong.
And you trust Dr. Gebhardt completely?
I trust everyone as much as is advisable. There will be a complete autopsy in Cairo. Until then, the doctor is one of the few people on board who is not a suspect. You, him, the stowaway, Constable Oliver, and I all have alibis.
There are still enough suspects left. I was able to make the traces of a note on the Baroness's notepad legible. She wrote that a murderer is on board and that she'll unmask him. She asks the recipient to meet her in the saloon at 10 p.m. If we can find the recipient.
I was the recipient.
Monsieur?
When I entered my cabin last night, I found a message on the floor. Someone must have slipped it under the door.
Why didn't you say anything about it?
I didn't know that I was obliged to.
We are partners.
Not really. You're helping me out until we reach Cairo, because you somehow managed to remain on board.
But
I'll choose when and with whom I share information. You can accept that and continue assisting me, or you can spend the rest of the journey on a deck chair thinking about missed opportunities.
And none of this is by any chance related to the fact that the message doesn't suit your Raven theory. The Baroness knew the murderer from the past, and he was already a murderer when he boarded the ship. The Raven was always just a thief, not a murderer.
Careful, Constable. Are you accusing me of perverting the facts?
Of course not, monsieur.
Then let's get back to work. Good day, Constable.
About the tranquilizer.
Do you know how you wound up with the glass?
Not yet.
Then you should stop wasting my time and get back to work.
I'll be in touch if I uncover more clues.
Very well.
Dr. Gebhardt locked the door, and until I have good reason, I won't wake him up. Something tells me that he wouldn't be amused. Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the train. She's eager to be part of a real detective story. Lady Westmacott, already on your... Oh.
Constable, don't you think before you speak?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No time for chit-chat. What have you found out?
We're still working on the case. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
What did you think of our adventure on the train? An extraordinary story, isn't it?
I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself, Mr. Zellner.
Hopefully not for the last time.
I'm glad that everything ended well. I want to thank you sincerely for taking care of Matthew. I can't bear to think about something happening to him.
It all worked out in the end. Do you think that the thief from the train and the murderer are the same person?
I think the new Raven is capable of anything.
Legrand believes there is no new Raven. He thinks that the old one has returned.
He said that.
Do you think it's possible? Everyone thinks he's dead.
As a dramatist, the return of the Raven would certainly be delightful. A legend comes back from the grave for one last job. It's quite romantic. At the same time, though, I'd be disappointed.
Why is that?
I followed the Raven's career closely. There weren't many burglars with such character and charm. His burglaries were clever and entertaining, but he was sloppy in London. He almost got caught, and I'll never forgive him for the affair on the train. No, I would much rather that the Raven stayed dead and had nothing to do with the burglary or the murder.
What do you think? Who is our suspect?
Everyone, or almost everyone. Everyone on board is physically capable of shooting someone, but who has the dark desire to take the life of a defenseless person?
One cannot read minds.
And one should not try. You have to collect evidence, traces, clues. That's what will lead us to the killer. It won't be like a bad crime novel, in which they introduce a new character shortly before the end who, surprise, surprise, is also the murderer.
Murderers leave evidence. They're nervous or unnaturally relaxed. They have to adjust constantly.
And because of that, they make mistakes. This is your chance, Constable. If you find the mistake, you'll find your murderer.
Have you noticed anything related to the murder?
Unfortunately not. I was already in my cabin and missed all the commotion. Damnable old age.
You're telling me.
Oh, you're still young. At my age, you have to expect that you won't experience much anymore. And although I've written about murder so many times, I've never actually witnessed one. How exciting.
I doubt everyone is so relaxed in such a situation.
Heartless is the word you're searching for, right, Constable? I certainly didn't want the Baroness to be murdered, but if I can't undo it, then I might as well enjoy it.
What do you think of Inspector Legrand?
He seems to be as skilled as everyone says. Intelligent, focused. I had a chat with him yesterday, and he impressed me, but there's something haunted in his eyes.
I don't think he ever really stopped hunting the Raven.
Catching the Raven made him famous. What if he actually shot the wrong person? Unjustified fame bothers people, the good ones at least.
And you think he's one of the good ones?
Anyone who tries so hard to tear down his own memorial must be honorable. Or insane.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the train. She's eager to be part of a real detective story. Captain DeConti is sitting at the bar again. He gave me the glass of champagne last night. Hello, Captain DeConti.
Constable Zellner, you're back on your feet again. Glad to see it.
Did everyone drink from the same bottle of champagne last night?
There was more than one bottle, if that's what you mean. There were quite a few guests, and the event lasted several hours.
The last bottle of champagne, the one the Baroness drank from, did anyone else drink from it?
Certainly.
We have reason to believe that the champagne was drugged.
Incredible. But wouldn't that have made everyone drowsy?
Not if it was only the Baroness's glass that was drugged.
I see. That's possible. On a night like that, many glasses are filled and emptied. There are several stewards, many guests. No one keeps track of every glass and every bottle.
A few drops in a glass?
Yes, it's certainly possible.
The glass you handed me last night, where did you get it?
Ah, I understand. You think your glass was poisoned as well?
Did you pour it yourself?
No. I saw that you weren't doing so well and wanted to rescue the situation. I took the first available glass and I give it to you.
Was it on the table?
No, I hurry over to you, together with Dr. Gebhardt, who, of course, he had the glass in his hand. He was looking around for a place to set it down so that he could examine you. I took it from him.
And gave it to me?
I'd like to apologize for that, but you look so worse for the wear, and I just wanted to comfort you. I didn't think of looking for a new glass for you.
So the doctor had the drugged glass in his hand. What was your experience of last night?
Oh, terrible. Dinner was fantastic. Everyone was excited about having a pleasant drink under the stars. And then this.
You were in the saloon all night long?
As the captain, I have to care for my passengers. After you and the others rushed out, I tried to maintain a festive atmosphere. But when the alarm it goes off, I lose the battle.
How was the Baroness?
She really surprised me. After she was so unapproachable at the reception and didn't show her face for the entire afternoon, I was afraid she was one of the bores and bourgeoisie. But then she arrived in the early evening in the best of moods. Already had a few, if you know what I mean.
Did she say anything to you?
She asked me where Legrand's cabin was. I told her, then invited her to come for drinks in the evening. I said it would be great fun. The whole ship will be there, and you don't want to miss that, I told her.
And then?
She seemed to like the idea. She smiled, and then left again for a few minutes. Then she came back and seemed very happy. We drank a toast to life.
Is it possible to find out where the alarm was set off?
I'm afraid not. There are alarms all over the ship.
I saw that they're sealed. Can't we just check whether the seal is broken?
I'm afraid they're gonna be missing on a lot of alarms. You know, this is an old ship, and over the years...
So, you're saying that the alarms haven't been regularly maintained?
I'll inform the crew immediately, of course.
Of course. Earlier, you said that the Baroness was in a good mood and was clinking glasses with you. What happened afterwards? We met you outside the saloon.
She overdid it a bit. She suddenly started to swoon and almost spilled her drink. I asked her if she wanted to rest for a moment in her cabin. At first, she didn't want to. She definitely wanted to stay in the saloon. But then she realized that she really did need to lie down. We left together. You know the rest of the story.
What can you tell me about the passengers?
Oh, not that much, I'm afraid. I wanted to get to know them properly at the reception. In most cases, I just shook hands with them as they boarded the ship. There are a few regulars on board, and after dinner, I had a conversation with Mr. Kreutzer, a talented violinist, and Lady Westmacott. But you already know them from the train.
It seems like there aren't that many passengers on board.
These bloody airplanes are making our lives miserable. Can you imagine? Grown men prefer to jam themselves into a narrow metal coffins instead of enjoying the fresh sea air on a ship.
It's all about saving time.
It shouldn't be about how much time it takes to get from A to B, but about how you spend that time. What you experience on the journey, that's what it's about.
I'll get back to my investigations now.
Ciao, Constable.
The alcoholic drinks and everything that goes with them is top-notch on this ship. As expected, fresh ice and tongs.
Constable Zellner, what is the meaning of this? Are even the police light-fingered nowadays?
I need this tool for a criminal investigation.
Well then, why didn't you say so? But bring the tongs back when you're done. Otherwise, I'll have cold fingers all day.
Could work. There's something in there. Someone stuffed this in the vase. Looks like it's been used to muffle a gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come. I don't care what Legrand and Dr. Gebhardt say. The blood spot looks strange, and I'd like to take a sample. Maybe I'll get the chance to analyze it. Assuming the murderer isn't a magician, and the Baroness locked the door herself before she went to bed, the murderer couldn't have left the cabin through the door. So, the murderer must have still been in here when Dr. Gebhardt kicked the door in. Which is unlikely because someone would have seen him, or he found another way out of the cabin. A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize. I'm really...
I'm not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand... We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person. Quite the opposite. The Baroness's message hints at the fact that she knew the murderer and that he'd killed before.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him, with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Ah, well. It makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I need evidence. Or better yet, the murderer. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him since he's too young to be the Raven.